even gonna make it. The security in this place is insane. And this Dick Marine was like, you're not on the list. And I was like, dude, that's my sister's face 40 feet high on your building. Also, who took that photo of you? It's not doing you any favors. Your pores are huge and no one did any work on your eyebrows, so you look so angry, like that. Yeah, you look exactly like that. Okay.
What are you doing here?
Hello. I thought it was pretty appropriate for Miss Earth to see Earth's ambassador, right? What? I won the biggest pageant in the world. It's kind of a big deal. I mean, not as big as the Space UN, of course, but...
It's the Galactic Protectorate.
Thank you so much for doing this, Anna.
Hey.
So with your new Verizon Go90 show and Verizon owning AOL, which owns Huffington Post, we're basically coworkers now.
Oh.
Very excited about. Obviously, we're going to share all the inter-office gossip soon. But just to start off, I wanted to talk about your amazing YouTube short film, Miss Earth, which you did a couple years ago. It's kind of this really great combination of a dystopian Black Mirror episode with a really great Power Rangers episode. And so I wanted to talk about just the initial idea and how that came into your head to do that.
Yeah, well, I actually was a part of New Form Digital's incubator program. They selected a bunch of creators, gave us a small budget to create a pilot, and then they would take that pilot and try to sell it as a series. Miss Earth originally came from, I love to cosplay at Comic-Con, and I always wish, yeah, cosplayers in the house. I had always wished there was a real Miss Earth pageant for aliens. I think they did an episode of Face Off like that finally. But I am fascinated by fantasy and science fiction, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to get to do a sci-fi series. So Go90 picked it up, as you can see. It's 12 episodes available for free.
So it started with a Miss Earth for aliens, and then it took this really kind of dark twist from there.
Yeah, well, I actually lost my little sister to suicide in 2007 from bullying, and so a lot of what I write ends up being sibling relationship based, whether I realize it or not. And so the relationship between Victoria and Arden was always between me and my sister, where I'm more Arden, like strict, the oldest child, daughter of a military guy, and she was always this very carefree, beautiful, socially intelligent person, and those qualities in her I really admired, and I wanted to explore that dynamic on a much more crazy level.
Crazy level.
Yeah.
So the original YouTube short film was so well done, and you had obviously put a lot of money into it and a lot of time into it. So I was just wondering if you could talk about what excited you about kind of going back and remaking this project. Obviously, musicians often put out demos in the hope that a major label picks it up, and then you kind of get to refine things. But could you just talk about your thoughts for this?
Yeah, so for the initial pilot, I directed, produced, and acted, which was quite a bit. So I was excited to have a series with New Form Digital and Go90's financial backing where I could surround myself with really talented people. So I wrote the pilot, and I will admit I'm not the strongest writer. So for the series, it was great because we were able to hire traditional showrunners, Aaron Brownstein and Simon Gans, who are now working on a new Netflix show but are from Parenthood. And we had a traditional director, Oren Kaplan. So it was a weird mix of being able to have all of this talent around me helping elevate the whole project. The one thing that was hard was when you do everything by yourself, you get to make all the creative decisions. And so we had this big argument about hair. Like I really wanted to go platinum blonde. And they were like, no, that looks really weird. We shouldn't do that at all. So in the end, I think they were right. But ultimately, I was really glad to be able to have people to bounce ideas off of. Because coming from YouTube, you're so used to being able to make every decision. If it sucks, it's your fault. If it's great, you get all the glory. Whereas scripted series is so much of a collaboration and an adventure together.
For Miss 2059, that only takes place a little over 40 years in the future. With the original short video, you had said that it takes place around 1,000 years in the future. Should we be more worried that this kind of coming dystopian is right around the corner? I
mean, we're about to have a female president or Satan for a president, so I don't think 40 years is that big of a deal anymore.
Speaking of possible Satan for president, the Miss Earth pageant is obviously a little bit similar to the Miss Universe pageant that Trump owns. Is this some sort of commentary on a post-Trump presidency?
Yeah, I always always have really hated beauty pageants, but the women that I've met in them are always so intelligent and kind and talented. And so it was weird to me that these like beautiful, smart women were participating in something that from the outside seemed so shallow and mundane. So I really also wanted to portray a beauty pageant woman who was just very socially intelligent and did it for the fun and the whole experience of it all. But yeah, let's hope the real Miss Universe goes down soon.
With Miss 2059 kind of going along with that, obviously there's a lot of female characters that get a star in it. You get to star in two separate female characters. Could you just talk about that decision?
Yeah, I think women are superior in almost every way. I think right? I mean, we're like the evolved human beings because we don't think down here, we think up here. And I really wanted to make a series where like the whole universe has recognized that females are better and Earth is just like this Neanderthal type planet. Everyone in the show is a female, all the aliens. We have one white straight guy in the whole series and he's painted purple, so you can't even really tell he's white. And I really wanted to give a voice to people of color and minorities and have as many people in front of it behind the camera that are women and POC. Because those are the kind of changes I want to make. And so with my own series, I felt like this is finally the opportunity to tell those kind of stories.
Absolutely. You kind of talked about this earlier, but could you talk about just the control you have in going to a larger format like this? In the past interviews you've done, you've talked about with YouTube, it's kind of a safe space where you get to have a lot of control and get to make a lot of the decisions. But could you just talk about how it was a little bit different this time around?
So when you're working on a big series like this, everyone has opinions and everyone has ideas, and a lot of them are good. It's just a matter of taking all the ones that really work for this project and bringing it together. So Newform was my producing partner. They were with me every step of the way. So together we decided on showrunners, we decided on a director. And then me and all of those guys get together and we have to decide on the storyline that we're gonna use and the actors we're gonna hire. Then we have to send it to Go90 and they have to give their notes on the edit and the cuts and the outlines. So it really is, I feel like the Wachowski brothers, or siblings now, once said that every movie made is a miracle. And after doing something this big, I do believe it is a miracle, because there are so many things that can just go wrong when you're making something. Like if someone's performance is bad, or if that day someone gets hurt. We had someone fall off the back of a truck once on a rainy day, and it delayed us like crazy, but obviously, the show must go on. So it is a huge collaboration, and I'm not used to having to give up so much control or even delegate. But in the end, I feel like, well, that's the real power of filmmaking, is that it's not just your vision, it's everybody's vision coming together.
In talking a bit more about your very successful YouTube career, about a year and a half ago, you got to do a video with Daniel Radcliffe where he gave you love advice. Could you just talk about how that came about?
Daniel Radcliffe, he's my homeboy now. Haven't seen him since that video, it's fine. He was promoting his What If movie. It was a rom-com, and we were given the opportunity to collaborate with him, and they were like, what would you do? So I made this very meta video where I was obsessed with the idea of meeting Daniel Radcliffe and falling in love with him and being in a relationship with him, and he tells me to stop being a serial monogamist and to really just like live life and enjoy. He was fantastic. He is very nice to everyone on set. He's very handsome. His eyebrows are the biggest things I've ever seen. Beautiful, beautiful man. Daniel, if you're watching this, I'm still waiting for you. Come call me.
You seemed super game for everything you were proposing. Could you just talk about what it was like interacting with him on set? Were there any stories you've been dying to share?
Oh, God. My favorite thing in that whole scene was he improv'd it. Like, we have a scene where I shake his hand and I go, I just came. And so, like, during each of those takes, he would improv something and he was like, me too. And I was just like, oh.
In the past, you've... I mean, that's amazing. In the past, you've talked about the pitfalls of creating something that's you and your personality with trying to obviously do YouTube videos that take on popular subjects. Could you just talk about that balance and how you approach that?
I mean, I think we live in a world of clickbait and fake controversy for the sake of views and attention. Whenever I create something, I always want to do comedy with a message. So I really want to say something, but I also want to be true to my thumbnails and my titles or what have you. So whenever you see a video of mine, I want you to read the title and you'll know exactly what that video is about. That said, when I say something, I also want to say something important. So I do a lot of satirical stuff like how to not get raped, or women can be dicks too, that address very feminist or minority issues. It can be a difficult balance because you don't want to be too on the nose, otherwise it's not really funny. But at the same time, I feel like you do have to make it very clear, otherwise people can tear apart what you say. That said, it is a trial and error process, and I'm still learning, but hopefully the majority of people who watch it can understand my message.
Last year, you got to have a pretty great role in the movie Ant-Man. As you join Marvel, arguably the most successful movie franchise to date, could you just talk about how that's changed your life?
Paul Rudd is immortal. I've become convinced. He looks exactly the same as he did from Clueless.
Have you ever taken that quiz where you have to guess which one is older?
No,
it's on Vulture. It's amazing.
Did you fail?
I got 50% right, 50% wrong.
He's a vampire. He's found the fountain of youth. I kept eavesdropping on all of his conversations. His marriage is going really well, apparently, unfortunately. But it was great. I mean, I auditioned for the part. You had to audition by doing Michael Pena's monologue, and whoever could lip sync the best won. I'm oddly talented at that. But I'm hoping the Marvel Universe brings me back. Silk is now a superhero. Hey, Marvel, hey. Tweet at me, boy.
Because in the Marvel Universe, you got to introduce Spider-Man. You got the first reference to him. Could you just talk about if they coached you at all about that, or if they try to impart on you that this was an important moment?
No, I didn't even realize it was a Spider-Man reference until my friend told me after the fact. I just read the lines, and I was like, okay, cool. They're just saying stuff about men who can jump and climb walls.
You did get to do a scene with Stan Lee. What was it like just interacting with him?
He's so old. He's so old. It was an honor to get to work with him because he's almost gone. I feel like he hobbles around. He can barely understand what anyone's saying to you. I tried to have a conversation with him, and he just didn't understand what I was saying. But he's very sweet, very nice. And it was like, oh man, this guy's a legend who created this giant franchise and used to be embarrassed of his job because he thought he was just making content for children. So it was great to see him, but also sad.
In doing a bit of a deep search on your IMDb, I found out that you were actually an extra many years ago in Katy Perry's TGIF music video.
I am.
A few of your YouTube fans have tried to pinpoint the moment you show up in the video, but it hasn't really been locked down. Could you just talk about what that experience was like?
Yeah, I went to high school with her brother. We were good friends at the time, and he was just like, hey, do you want to come do my sister's music video? And I was doing background a lot of the time, and so I was like, yeah, I can do that. It was really fun because I was there with all of my friends, and we got to hang out. It was just like high school, except I think that's when you realize like just how exhausting fake partying for 12 hours can be. So that was it was a good time.
How many hours of fake partying did it take?
I think we were on set for like 15 hours, and we had to like keep jumping and singing TGIF, and it was just like, we want to go home.
Did you get to interact with Katy Perry at all?
No. Although we had a fun joke. Katy Perry kept joking on set, calling herself number one on the call sheet. So she'd be like, number one's hungry, number one wants a coffee, just as like a joke. And so on Miss 2059, I kept doing that the whole time.
In recent YouTube news or media news, it was kind of a big story that popular YouTube creator Akilah Hughes came out and started a petition against BuzzFeed videos, saying that they often kind of ape the stories and they often plagiarize without giving credit or try to get free content. As you're obviously a very big part of the YouTube community, I was wondering what your thoughts on that were when she started that petition.
I fully support Akilah. I think, it's hard because BuzzFeed does a lot of general videos and then takes each specific way they can I think verticalize it is how they call it. But to an extent, they are essentially stealing content because all the interns are pressured to create so much that they'll just hound the internet for something that's very broad and try to take that. Also, I think the non-competes, Gabby Dunn wrote an excellent article about how a lot of the employees are exploited because they're not allowed to be in anyone else's videos. A few women were recently fired for doing the web series Hentified. And I don't stand by that. I feel like that's almost like old Hollywood studio system where studios are trying to keep the talent within themselves. And I feel like with BuzzFeed especially, a lot of new creators want to sign it because they want the benefits and they want the salary, and a financial stability is so important in this field. But I really feel like they're being exploited. BuzzFeed, I don't feel like should be able to own you and own your internet presence. And that someone who works for their company doing other things and getting other exposure ultimately helps them. So I think they're being very short-sighted and controlling.
Yeah, it almost seems like the system is repeating itself with, as you said, the early Hollywood, where since no one knows the rules, they're kind of just trying to steamroll what they can do.
Yeah, and I don't think it feels right because they're such a huge corporation. I think Zafrank needs to come back and set it straight.
So in just wrapping up, also with Go90, you also have a Transformers series coming out, and obviously that's a series that people have a lot of nostalgic feelings and childhood love for. Could you just talk about coming on that project?
Yeah, so Transformers is a new cartoon that's out on Go90 now for free, and I got to be the voice of Victorion. It was kind of intimidating because we did a giant VO session with all of these very professional VO guys who have like the deep, raspy voices and are very like commanding presences in the room. So I felt definitely like a novice who had to keep up and like was kind of learning from them, but ultimately it was like really fun. I play this evangelical, super aspirational robot, and I'm excited to see it.
Was it strange hearing your voice in this sort of wah-wah robotic playback?
I mean, it felt cool.
I think that's all our time right now, but we're going to open up the floor to audience questions.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I know me personally, as far as YouTube, I know not everybody, but most people use that as a platform, so I kind of feel like it's hard to stand out when everybody's doing it. So what advice do you have for me and others who feel the same way?
I feel like the hard thing with YouTube is a lot of us feel results-oriented, right? You want to start in order to get a following. The truth is that's incredibly hard. You know, I've been very lucky along the way and have gotten breaks. I think ultimately if you're doing YouTube, you should be doing it to find your comedic voice because in the end that's going to be more valuable and a more tangible goal than anything else. If you hold yourself accountable and be consistent and have deadlines, you can really push yourself past that initial like honeymoon phase of creating where you have so many ideas and you're excited and really challenge yourself to dig deep and find deeper messages that you want to communicate.
How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Congratulations on your project.
Thank you.
So my question for you is, what made you want to choose Go90 over any other TV platform?
I think Go90 has been great at listening. When you do traditional TV, there are so many suits in the room. There are a lot of regulations. There's not as much creative freedom. There's not as much trust in the creator. They saw the initial pilot I made, and they were very great about being like, this is your vision. We want you to do it the way that you see it, and we're supportive the whole step of the way, which to me is much more important in working with the platform.
Hi, you briefly mentioned your sister and cyberbullying. Like, is that a hard topic to come back to when you're like working on the show or writing?
It hits at random times. You know, sometimes it's very easy to talk about, and then some days it's not. I think it just depends. Ultimately, I like talking about it and communicating it in my artwork because I feel like it's something I'm never going to fully come to terms with, and I kind of resolve temporarily in my mind by creating things about it. But yeah, today's an okay day with it.
Hi, thanks for being here. So if you could collaborate with any artist, like any celebrity, who would it be and why?
Jennifer Lawrence, because she's Jennifer Lawrence.
I think that's all the time we have. It's a good place to wrap up. Thank you so much for doing this once again.
Thank you so much. You can download Go90 and watch Miss 2059.